Elephants in the room.
Okay, so did you hear like the tapping?
Yeah,
the
it's
beating?
when my voice was getting too high.
Well, no, when it gets to the end, then you start.
Oh,
So like when you
so I start
started,
now.
it was yeah. So when you started, it wasn't even. It hadn't gone into it yet.
Hi guys, welcome back to Elephants in the Room. Hi guys, welcome back to Elephants in the Room. Why do I raise my voice? Hi guys, welcome back. I don't know what's wrong with me. Hi guys, thanks for being here. Guys, look at this new Olipop flavor I have. Banana cream. It's like a banana cream pie. It's pretty good. It's actually their new flavor. So anyways, okay, to the episode. Holy crap, guys. There's so much going on. The last 2 days I have been moving and I'm so stressed and so overwhelmed and there's so much going on and I don't even know how to get into it with you guys. There's just so much going on, but it's currently 7 p.m. and I still have to drive to California tonight, which is 6.5 hours away. Tomorrow I'm flying out at 8 a.m. to go to Europe with David for a tour. Yeah. Woo. Okay, I'm very excited. Once I get there, I'll feel more excited because I'm super nervous because my car has been having issues. Literally, of course, the day before I leave, my car is having issues. So I have some faulty, what's the word? Spark plugs. But supposedly I'm supposed to still be able to drive on it at least till I get there. So please, I know you're seeing this in the future, guys, but pray for me. I'm trusting that the Lord will get me there safely because I have to get there before 8 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm just losing my mind. I'm losing my marbles. We're okay though. I'm very grateful and very blessed. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing this episode. I have something pretty special planned for you guys today. Without further ado, since I'm short on time, let's just get straight into the episode. So today we're going to be talking about abandonment issues. This is an extremely hard subject for me to talk about because it is probably the most prevalent wound and effect of my childhood trauma and divorce that I do still currently deal with. And it affects my life personally, and it affects my relationship with David, my boyfriend, and it affects a lot of my relationships. And it affects my relationship with God as well. So it's not the most comfortable thing for me to talk about, but that's why we're going to do it, because we're getting deep and vulnerable on here, and we're talking about the things that people don't want to talk about. So what are abandonment issues? Let's start there. Abandonment issues usually stem from your childhood, but sometimes can develop later in life due to a traumatic experience within a relationship. So if you were neglected, abused, or left behind by a loved one or a parent in your life, you can tend to form some abandonment issues and some abandonment wounds in your life. Now, the hard thing about abandonment issues is typically they do stem from childhood, but if not dealt with, and sometimes I even believe if they are dealt with, can manifest into some unhealthy habits as an adult. So let's go over some of the signs or things that would kind of suggest that you may struggle with abandonment issues. If you struggle with being a people pleaser, you try to meet everyone's expectations to get on their good side so they don't have a reason to leave you, which usually results in you putting other people's needs before your own. You may struggle with abandonment issues. If you struggle with low self-esteem, you've internalized someone in your life walking out on you, and you have linked it to your value and your worth, which results in you subconsciously thinking that you're not good enough for anyone to stick around. You have a hard time trusting people, and you're always looking forward to them letting you down. You struggle being honest and vulnerable about how you feel because you want to be a peacemaker and you never want to leave a space open for confrontation because you know that that might mean that someone would leave you. You shove down hurt in relationships to avoid confrontation and be a peacemaker. You tend to sometimes unintentionally self-sabotage your relationships. You unintentionally sabotage your relationships. When your feelings become really real and you truly start to care about someone, you start to become indifferent and kind of have this high sense of hyper independence to protect yourself because you're scared of getting hurt, rather than leaning into that love and care you feel for that person. Because the closer you get to someone and the more you love someone, the more scared you are to be left by them. And it's really just kind of a coping mechanism that we practice to protect ourselves. You're constantly looking for reasons to leave relationships or friendships in fear of getting too attached. You hold your loved ones to unrealistic standards and only focus on their flaws or negatives. And you do this because you believe that they are bound to eventually disappoint you and you want to spare yourself the hurt later. When someone does fail to meet your needs, you tend to use it as an excuse to leave or give up on the relationship. You tend to cling on to unhealthy relationships because you at least know the outcome of them. We typically try to recreate our early on childhood experiences, and so sometimes chaos and toxic relationships are safe to us, so we gravitate towards them. Now, abandonment issues usually stem from abuse, neglect, or psychological stress you experienced during childhood or divorce, death, or illness. These traumatic events may have a significant effect on brain development and lead to psychiatric symptoms such as depressions and substance abuse disorders later in life. Abandonment issues are no joke, guys. They affect every part of our life. So if you struggle with any of those things, you may have abandonment issues. And I'm here to tell you, if you struggle with those things, you're not alone, because I have abandonment issues severely and they affect so much of my life. And this episode has been very humbling for me because as I've taken time to research more about them. Now, even though I knew I had abandonment issues, I've been over this multiple times in therapy. Even though I knew that I had them and even though I knew that I struggled with them, in my head, I thought that I had maybe come to a more healed place and that they didn't affect me as much as they do. And I had a recent situation happen where I got really triggered. Because, as many of you guys know, I'm moving, and I had a trigger because in my last relationship, I did something similar. I moved to a new state and I built my life around someone who I believed was going to be my forever. Not that I didn't do things for myself or know people of my own, but a lot of my life consisted and involved things that involved him, mutual friends, mutual interest. We were building a life together. And I ultimately ended up getting divorced. And so now here I am a couple years later, and I'm moving to a new state. Now, am I doing it for my own reasons too? Absolutely. I'm pursuing my podcast. It's going to be great for me. I have so many amazing friends there. I've really been desiring Christian community. I have a great Christian community out there. Arizona doesn't make sense for me anymore. It's lonely, it's isolating, it's depressing. For so many reasons, it makes sense to move out there, but ultimately it is a risk because me and my boyfriend are not married, and I have this constant nagging voice in my head that tells me that my story will repeat itself. Even though nothing my boyfriend has done and nothing has happened for me to believe that the same thing is going to happen, but because of that wound, I subconsciously always think that it will, and I always catastrophize. And I'm saying this all to tell you guys, I started to really think and realize, like, oh my gosh, like, I let abandonment issues, they affect me in every way. They affect me in my relationship with God. Every time I ever do anything wrong, I feel like God doesn't love me anymore, and I feel like I'm not worthy of his love anymore. I have always been a people pleaser, and I've gotten way, way, way better at it. But there are still times where I really want to do everything right because I don't ever want to leave an opportunity for someone to leave me or hurt me. And I'm so grateful for the growth that I've had and the ways that I've become better. But ultimately, I was just kind of starting to see like, wow, like this really still affects me. I think it's part of the reason that I don't think anything good is ever going to happen to me, because the second something good starts happening for me, I'm constantly thinking of the way that it's going to go wrong. And it's because as a child, I was hurt, I was abused, I was neglected, and I was abandoned by who was supposed to love and take care of me the most. And I did everything right as a child. I gave and I gave and I gave to my parents, and I gave everything. And I tried to be a good kid because I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be safe. I just wanted to be taken care of. And I did the same thing in my marriage. And I was abandoned in both situations. And it has made me deep down feel that there is something wrong with me, and that it is inevitable that people will leave. And this, again, it ties into everything. It ties into everything. It's this self-sabotage that we do, that we just can never see things going right. And I really believe that stems from abandonment issues. And I was just starting to realize as I was doing my research for this episode, I was like, dang, like this really is affecting me in so many more ways than I even realize. And I'm making people out to be the villains when they're not. Like, why am I convincing myself that God doesn't love me just because I sinned? Obviously, he still loves me. Obviously, he still wants a relationship with me. Obviously, it's not about me and my perfection. But because of the habits of my childhood and of my early adult years, I get stuck in this hole of trying to be perfect and trying to do everything right for people. And even when I do that, I still feel like it's not going to work out. But then the bad part is when I do fail and when I do mess up, I feel like that gives someone grounds to just walk out of my life. And not to say that when we do things that are wrong, it doesn't give people the authority to make the choices they want. But like, none of us are perfect. We're never going to be perfect in relationships. We're never going to be perfect in career. We're never going to be perfect at anything we do. We're never going to be perfect in our walk with God. And when we constantly attack ourselves, and we constantly put ourselves down, and we constantly just beat ourselves up when we fail, it's just so toxic. And I really am starting to think that a big part of that comes from that abandonment wound that we have. We have this deep wound in our heart. And even if we love ourselves and we believe that we're enough, there's still this nagging thing within us that kind of pushes us to believe differently, which is so weird. It's such a weird thing. And I've talked about this before, but guys, abandonment issues are so hard because like, I literally, the second that anything even goes slightly wrong, I'm convinced that either someone stopped loving me or that they're in a bad situation and they're in danger. For example, growing up, my mom is a drug addict, and she would leave and disappear for multiple days at a time. And I remember specifically as a child, I would sit there and I would call her. And she wouldn't answer. And it would just ring and it would ring and it would ring. And when it didn't answer, I was convinced that she was dead. I was convinced that she had OD'd. I was convinced that she was never going to come back because I never knew when she would come back or if she would come back. And I would hyperventilate and I would have panic attacks as a kid, wanting my mom to come home, wanting to be loved by my mom, wanting to be with her, wanting her to be safe. And it created such a wound in my heart. And even now, anytime someone doesn't answer the phone, it's really hard for me to not go into that mindset and think they don't love me anymore or they're in danger. David knows this. My boyfriend knows this. That's something we've struggled with in our relationship. I'm like, David, please just pick up on the first ring. Even if you say, hey, Nicole, I can't talk right now, I'm busy. Just you picking up so I know you're okay helps me so much because I genuinely believe people are hurt. That's why when people call me, I always pick up their phone calls. I'm terrible at texting back, but if someone calls, I always try to pick up the phone because I'm so scared. I just want to make sure people are okay. When I feel abandoned by someone, it triggers me so much. It's like my body shuts down and my brain runs at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And I think of all of the worst scenarios, I internalize it and I start to think it's about me. And then when I start to realize or think that someone's going to abandon me, I try to protect myself and I push them away. I push them away. And it's not good. And I still struggle with that. And I think at times I can feel like it's an independence thing and I can feel like it's a protection. And it is. I do love myself and I do want to protect myself, but it's also a wound. I've always said this to David since the first time I met him. I said, if you don't want to marry me, just leave, because I'd rather experience the hurt now than later. I'm like, unless someone is all in, I don't want to be there because I'm so scared of being abandoned and that the pain that comes with that. And I know that I can be okay on my own, and I know that I'm independent, and I know that all I need is God. But the hurt that I've experienced in my life from when my parents abandoned me and when my ex-husband abandoned me, or when I felt abandoned in my marriage, I never want to live that again, because I don't feel like I'm strong enough, and it makes me feel so weak because I feel so out of control. When I get really triggered, I feel so out of control, and my therapist knows this and my boyfriend knows this. But when I get triggered and I feel abandoned in my heart and I feel that wound start to go, my logic shuts down and I'm run by emotion and sadness and fear, and I catastrophize. And it's just so bad, guys. It's so bad. And even though I've gotten so much better with people pleasing and with independence and with all these different things, my abandonment issues still affect me a lot. And I'm starting to realize that. And it sucks. It sucks. It's easy to get on here and talk about things that I've overcome. It's hard to get on here and talk about something that still affects me. And David has been my boyfriend has been so patient with me. And, I'm patient with him on things as well. Like, neither of us are perfect, but, abandonment issues are so frustrating because they manifest in situations where they don't belong. A situation can be going right, a relationship can be going right, and you're still going to have that fear and you're still going to have that wound. And that's the worst part. It's so hard. It's so hard. I literally, oh my gosh. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't really even know what to say, but I just want to be open with you guys. If you struggle with abandonment issues, you're not alone. They're hard. They're so hard. And it's the one thing in my healing journey I still feel like I haven't been able to overcome. And I don't know if I'll ever fully be able to overcome it, because there will always be that wound from what happened to me as a child and what happened to me in my marriage. And it sucks. It sucks. It really sucks. It's super frustrating when I get triggered, because when I get triggered and I feel that abandonment wound coming out, it's super hard. Like, me and David fight. Like, me and my boyfriend have fought before a lot about it, because he tries to extend me patience and grace, but it's hard for him and it's hard for me, and it's frustrating for me because I'm like, I'm not trying to be this way. I'm not trying to feel this way. But when I get in that state, I just can't get out. There's a lot of things that can trigger abandonment issues, but even the smallest thing can trigger them. And guys, I'm no expert. I'm not here to get on here and talk about how to fix them. And I just want to talk to you guys, because if someone experiences this, I don't want you to feel alone. So let's just talk about some things that have helped me with them and some things that I've had to accept. The first thing that I've had to accept and that I've prayed about is, sometimes I get mad at God and I say, God, just heal me. Why do I still have to deal with this? Why do I have to have this wound in my heart? Aren't you the healer? Aren't you supposed to make me feel whole? But one thing I've had to accept is that it's something I may always have to struggle with. It may be a wound that I will always have. It may lessen, it may get less deep, it may get more healed, but it may be something I have to deal with forever. But it helps me rely on God. And it helps me to be humble in the sense of needing him and needing his help in those moments. So let's talk about some things that have helped me with my abandonment issues and some things that help me when I get really triggered. One thing my therapist has always told me is, Nicole, when you get really triggered, stop talking, stop thinking, practice healthy coping skills. She says, I know you won't want to, but you have to. So when I get super, super triggered, I have to try to just sit in stillness. And sometimes when I get super triggered, my throat it's like the yarn in your throat where you feel like you can't breathe and you can't talk. And I literally physically feel like I can't talk when my abandonment issues get bad. I can talk a lot, guys, but when I get really triggered, my body shuts down. I hyperventilate. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like the world is caving in on me. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm going to be alone. I feel like so much pain. It's so hard. It's so freaking hard. I'm even like triggered talking about it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. Sometimes when I get super triggered like that, there's not much I can do. And I just need to pray. I just have to pray and say, God, help me. God, help me. And sit in stillness and try to have someone that I love just be on the phone with me or be in the room, but not talk about it because I'm not able to use logic and I'm only able to think of emotion. And when I'm super triggered and I feel like I'm that abandonment wound coming up, you could tell me everything. You could reassure me in every way. And sometimes it just doesn't feel real. They don't feel like real words. And so sometimes I have to get out of that state to be okay. But yes, like I do love reassurance in those times, but my brain just doesn't work in those times. But once I'm able to get out of that initial really bad state, practicing healthy coping skills helps. Distracting myself with things that will distract my brain, because once I'm able to get out of that really dark, deep place in my head, I'm able to see the situation for what it is, and I'm able to see it from a more logical perspective, and I don't internalize things as much, and I don't have as much of a fear, and I start to self-reflect and feel, safe and secure within myself. So after you get to that place, healthy coping skills, because it helps you get to the place where you feel more at peace and then you can go back to it. So healthy coping skills are great to go and do healthy coping skills, to fill your cup up, to practice self-care, to then be able to reapproach the situation logically and work through it. And then once you're able to get to that place where you can work through it logically and figure it out and talk about it, I think you can express your feelings, but just remember that that wound is real. Don't invalidate yourself. Like, it's okay to have that wound. Give yourself that self-validation, give yourself that self-love, give yourself that reassurance that you need. And just remember that you have you and you have God, and that is enough. I know it's hard sometimes, but that truly is enough. See a therapist. That helps. That really helps a lot. Practice gratitude for what you have. Remind yourself of the truths in your life. Stop catastrophizing and think about the negative and just try to remind yourself of the truth. Like, one thing that my boyfriend did for me when we first started dating is he sent me a voice memo that just said, like, I love you, Nicole. I want to marry you. I'm committed to you. Yada, yada. And it was just kind of this reassurance that I could listen to once I started to struggle. And I want you guys to know that you can also do that for yourselves. Remind yourselves when you get in that place, I love me. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to validate me. I'm never going to abandon me. And just because those people abandon me doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It's not about you. Stop internalizing the ways that people hurt you and the ways that people left you. Hurt people, and broken people don't know don't know how to work through the challenges in a relationship. It's not about you. Guys, I don't really know what else to say, but what I just want to remind you guys of is you're not alone if you struggle with abandonment issues. I love you. You're heard. You're seen. You're going to be okay. The world's not out to get you. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of commitment. And you have you. You will always have you. So love you. Cater to you. Take care of you. Protect you. Love you. Be patient with you. Love yourself just like you want to love someone else. If you don't love yourself and you can't learn how to love yourself, you won't be able to love others. Give yourself the love that you so desperately desire and the love that you give to others. Give yourself the love that you give to others. Give yourself the love that you give to others. I love you guys. I hope this helped. I know this was crazy. But I love you guys. Wish me luck on this next adventure of my life of moving. I'm literally going to pack up my stuff and leave like in 20 minutes. So I love you guys. Wish me luck. I'm going to be in Europe on tour with David. Wish me luck. It's going to be so fun. I'm so freaking excited. It's all so great. And I'm thankful for you guys. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Let's say a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come before you, God. I just pray over anyone watching this who struggles with abandonment issues or struggles with the fear of being abandoned. God, I just pray that you just remind them that you love them. I pray that you remind them that your love is enough for them. I pray that you remind them that they are enough, there's nothing wrong with them, and that they are worthy of a committed, true, and deep love, God. I pray that you heal all the wounds that we have. I pray that you help us to lean on you, God. We love you, God. We're so grateful for all we have, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, if you guys would like to support me, you can follow me on my personal Instagram and TikTok, Nicole.Donna. You can also follow me on my Elephants in the Room, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Elephants in the Room. You can give this podcast a rating, leave a review, shoot me a DM, message me. That's the same thing as shooting me a DM. Comment, and share this with a friend. Share it on your social media. I love you guys so much. And I hope that my mess of a life helps you. I hope that me being open, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I love you guys. And I want to share my struggles because I really don't want you guys to feel alone. I love you guys. I'll close this episode out by saying my name is Nicole and what elephants are in your room. I'll talk to you guys next week.